Good afternoon. This is Kasha Mitchell with Arizona Home Consultants, and I'm so excited for our conversation today. I am here with members of Post 58, the American Legion in Fountain Hills, Arizona. My friends, my chosen family, and we're just going to introduce you to this organization. My heart for this organization comes from a few different places. My father served in Vietnam. He was a dentist in the Philippines. My uncle was a demolition expert, and he actually was in Vietnam. He was Army. And then I also have an uncle who passed in his 40s, who served in the infantry in Vietnam. My brother is a hospital corpsman from the Navy, and then I've got nieces, nephews, things like that have served as well. So coming from a family that has a military background, it's near and dear to my heart. I also happened to meet my late significant other at Post 58. And it was kind of our family. And so they have been along with me on this interesting journey. And I've never felt so loved. So it's just an honor to sit down with you both today. To my right, I have Commander John Weedo, the president of Post 58. Is that the appropriate term? The commander. And to my left, I have Pete Gallagher, and he is it a commander
I'm
of the
commander
Sons as well?
the Sons of the American Legion, Squadron 58. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I told you why I got involved with the American Legion. John, would you start by telling us why you did?
Hi, my name is John Weedo, as Kasha said. Thank you for having us, Kasha. I served 4 years in the military, United States Navy, 1969 to 1973, as a boiler technician. During the Vietnam War, I was fortunate enough not to have boots on the ground in Vietnam, being on board a ship for 4 years, training Marines to go overseas, unfortunately, and to go to Vietnam. And too many of them didn't come back. So this veterans organization called the American Legion is near to my heart because it's with fellow veterans, brothers and sisters. And of course, the Sons of the American Legion, the auxiliary, the American Legion Riders. So it is all very near and dear to my heart, and raising money for veterans is nothing, I enjoy nothing more than raising money for veterans charities, veterans families. And like Kasha said, we are a family, regardless of what side of the American Legion you're on. We are all a very close-knit family, a close-knit community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your service, and thank you for your heart. You have served for some time in the American Legion. Tell us about the service a little bit.
I've been in the American Legion, this particular post, for about 12 years, maybe 13. I have been the commander for 6, and if I run again in March, it'll be 7. And we basically have a total group of about 1,500 or 1,600 members of our family. That's a pretty big family. So as you know, with family, sometimes you get along, sometimes you don't get along, yes. Sometimes you have difference of opinion. We are a very close-knit family. We do everything for each other. We help each other. We raise money for different organizations together. I really, as much as I complain, and I do complain, sometimes being commander and you're dealing with 1,600 personalities, gets a little touchy at times, but when the day is over or you have an event or you have to deliver toys to kids or deliver money to a veterans organization and to put disabled veterans on motorcycles. I mean, we just did this
with the
2
British
days ago.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, we did it on Tuesday. We picked up wounded warriors from England. They flew in to California, rented motorcycles, and a couple of trucks. And some of them didn't even have legs. They had prosthetic legs. They were missing limbs, and they were in the British Army or military. And just to see the look on their faces to come to the American Legion. And I mean, we're one of the only American Legion posts they've been to every year. When they come over twice a year from England, they come to our post. And just to thank them for their service from the other side of across the pond, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's very heart-wrenching.
There are very few scenarios I walk into on a daily basis where, like, I am touched. And I would say that is one thing that happens over and over and over in that American Legion. And sometimes it's something as simple as when the DJ's finishing up and he plays, yeah, God Bless America, you know, it's an exceptional experience. And I love that you shared that story. That sounds beautiful.
If you can keep a dry eye when they play God Bless America from Lee Greenwood, something wrong with you.
I know. I'm a mess. And I'm always like, why don't I have tissues in my pocket every moment of my life?
Every time that song plays and we're at the post, and my bartender will, as soon as she hears the first note, she will walk over and hand me tissues. She knows what's coming.
Can I get on that payroll?
Sure.
Everyone,
Yeah.
like, I'm standing there, I'm holding hands with strangers, and I'm just like sobbing when that happens. And there's something so beautiful in that moment, and that's just one of 100 moments, 1,000 moments that I've experienced at that post.
It's all about love for your brothers and sisters and our country.
Amen. I agree. Pete,
Yes.
it's your turn to be on the seat. Tell us why you got connected with the American Legion and where your
Okay.
heart is in this.
So unlike John, I'm not a veteran, and I still wanted to be a part of the group, and fortunately there's an organization within the American Legion called the Sons of the American Legion. And although I'm not a veteran, I have probably as many relatives who served as you did. My grandfather was in both World Wars as an engineer. My dad was in World War II as a navigator in the U.S. Army Air Forces. And his brother was in the infantry in World War II. I have a cousin who served, 2 brothers who were in the Army. I have relatives who were in the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Marine Corps. So I've got it all covered.
You've hit them all.
I love every one of those individuals, and someone asked me why I volunteer for veterans organizations, and I said, because I can never repay you for what you did for me. That's
Amen.
why I do what I do. These guys and gals, they made a big sacrifice. Even the ones who had less arduous duties, they still had to do what they were told, not what they wanted to do. And I appreciate that more than I can ever tell these people. So I do the best that I can do to help take care of veterans. That's why I got involved in the Sons of the American Legion, because it's an organization that's there to help veterans. I remember one night where we had a young guy who had come back and just, he was beside himself, and a few of us sat down and talked to him, and a month or 2 later, I was looking at his wedding pictures.
Wow.
And that was really a great experience, to be able to help an individual like that.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my family and friends, and I don't know how much you live this and you have experienced this as well, getting them to talk about their experience is really a tender point, you know, because there are tremendous sacrifices made.
Right.
And sometimes those sacrifices play out over a long time. My dad had PTSD.
Right.
He actually identified bodies. So he wasn't in Vietnam. He wasn't on the front lines. He would get the remains and he would identify their bodies from the dental records.
And it's something you can never get out of your head.
No.
Never. And that's why they call it post-traumatic stress disorder. And a lot of people don't talk about their tours in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. When they talk about it, it brings it back up. Not everyone wants to talk about it to say when they talk about it, it'll make you feel better. Yes and no. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it brings everything to the forefront. And I know my generation, a lot of Vietnam veterans won't even tell you they were in Vietnam.
I've experienced that, and I think sometimes one of the most powerful things that we can do is literally just sit next to someone, you
Yes.
know, and have them be able to come to a place where they have that safety, they have that security, and without words, there's that understanding that that person to my left and to my right honors the sacrifice I made, and I don't have to talk about it.
Unfortunately, the way the commander says that you sit down and you talk to them and you try to console them as best you can and talk on their level and be there for them, that makes a lot of them feel good. Unfortunately, there's the other side of that coin. And I know this because I deal with the Patriot Guard a lot that do military missions for funerals and everything. Unfortunately, we know of someone that just a couple of months ago had to talk to someone, and he talked to another veteran, and they all tried to get. And he seemed to have a smile on his face, and 2 days later, he shot himself. There's both sides of that.
Yeah, not all the stories end well.
It's not pretty.
If you can make one story end well, that's making a contribution.
Correct. And just, Commander, just so you know how I feel as a veteran and commander of the American Legion Post, and I think I've told both of you this for quite a while now, that, okay, so I was lucky enough to serve in the military, okay, but I don't see the Sons of the American Legion or the auxiliary of the American Legion any different, except that I get to go to my Legion meetings and have a voice. You get to go to your son's meeting and have a voice. Auxiliary, the president gets to go to their meeting and have a voice. But you're representing someone the same way I represent myself. You're representing a family member. You are certainly representing family members. And the auxiliary, 99% of the time, is there representing a spouse. So I, for me, don't see anyone any less in that family than a veteran, with the exception of a vote and a general membership. And yeah, we served. We can tell war stories. You can tell your family's war stories, but you're still part of the same thing we're part of, and you're still doing the same thing we're doing. So to me, when I say it's a family, I mean it's an intertwined family.
Oh, absolutely. And I never feel like a second-class citizen either. I feel like I'm just somebody that understands, because I've had relatives and close friends who've been through it all. And no, they won't talk to me the way they'll talk to you, because you have a shared experience. You're brothers in arms. But they'll talk to me about other things, about when they came back from being in the service. And I can help them with that, because I've done a lot of civilian stuff. And a lot of times it's just talking about life anyway. So I agree with you. It's a family, and I feel like I'm included as a part of the family. I never feel like a red-haired stepchild off to the side. And most of the time, I don't have time to think about stuff like
I
that.
never want any of our members, particularly at Post 58, which is what the only thing I can control, is how we feel about each other at Post 58. And I am very fortunate to have great family members at Post 58 on every side of the coin. So
We all are.
I'm fortunate in that regard, and that's what makes me proud. That's what makes some of the days where I hang up the phone and yell and swear and scream, and I said to my wife, I'm not running again, I can't do this anymore, and because of little things that happen, be it mechanical at the post, something breaks down, or personality conflict somehow, but you always go back. You always go back. Let's talk about some of the things that the Sons
Things
of the
that the
American
Sons
Legion do to raise money.
Okay. So our biggest charitable fundraiser every year is the fish fry that we run. It's starting tonight, and it runs every Friday until the Friday before Easter, Good Friday. We just thought that was an appropriate time to stop eating fish, I guess. It also has to do with the people leaving town for the summer, and it's about that time of year. It's one of our very popular events. We have some other things that the Legion does I'll let John talk about, but the fish fry, we've been advertising on social media, and the responses that we're getting are, I'm so glad you're back because we've been waiting for that. And we put in some work, but we feel really good about it afterwards when we're able to build up our coffers and then make some contributions to some good organizations that support veterans and a couple others that support the community that we live in. So I feel very good about that.
I love fish fry. And I did not grow up in the Midwest. My dad did. But it is it's so funny to me, like how all the Midwesterners are like, oh, this is a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. And it's packed. You must get there on time if you want to guarantee you're going to have a meal because they sell out. And we're not talking like normal start times. Like we're starting at 4:30, you know? And sometimes I'll walk in the door and I'm like, yes, 5 p.m. I'm here. I'm guaranteed. And they are sold out.
Yes,
and
I've seen
so
that.
it is exceptionally popular.
And when you say sold out, you're talking 100 dishes and over. Sometimes closer to 200.
Right.
And they're gone by 6 o'clock, 5:30. Yeah, it's not like we do 35. They do 35, 40 dishes. They do well over 100.
Yeah, right. And are you popping fish nuggets in the oven for us? What are you doing?
Not fish nuggets, but cod fillets. And we have our special batter that we mix up fresh every Friday. We have French fries or sweet potato fries and some coleslaw to go along with it. So it's a dinner plate.
It's legit.
And I enjoyed it before I joined the Sons of the Legion, and now that I'm a member, I get to help put the whole thing on, which is actually a blast. I have a great time.
You're in charge of putting the whole thing on.
I am, yes.
Don't forget, we need you.
But I've told people that nothing gives me more joy than putting a plate of food in front of somebody and looking at the smile on their face. It's really great. People love it.
Yeah, and there are quite a few people that when they come into the Legion for a meal, they're coming from a household of one. Mm-hmm. And so sitting next to somebody else, having that experience of having a meal with someone else, there's that added little.
You bet. That's a great thought, and I hadn't thought of that myself. But we do live in a community that's got a higher average age than most communities. So there are a number of people that fit that.
Wait a second here. I'm the oldest one here.
You're young compared to our community, but yes.
Wait a second. Now you're going on the other side here.
And one of the things, as a son of the American Legion, which the Sons were founded really for the younger sons of guys who were coming back from wars. And now we've kind of aged a little bit as an organization. A lot of us are older than what they were thinking about in those days, but we're still the sons of veterans and we still care. However, it would be great to have some of the sons of our more recent veterans come and be a part of this and to enjoy helping guys who are their father's brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. What would compel someone to come into the American Legion? And I put this out to all of you. I could give you my opinion, but I'd love to hear yours as well.
Go ahead, Commander.
Well, I had 2 reasons for joining. One was it was what I consider a social club, and I thought that would be a nice one for me to belong to. I'd looked at all of the benevolent organizations around town, and this was the one that had the strongest lure for me. And the other, I'll be honest about it, I'm a motorcycle rider, and I wanted to be able to join the American Legion Riders, which John will talk about later. And to be a member of the Riders, you have to be a member of one of the families. So those are my 2 reasons.
That is good information.
I couldn't agree more.
Did you join just to be a rider as well?
No, actually, I didn't.
It wasn't my only reason.
I actually joined an American Legion post in North Carolina to do that, yes.
Gotcha.
I did. But then when I came out here, I started as a rider. So we were basically separated. The people from the American Legion would sit inside, and the riders would meet outside because I'm going back 13 or so years, I think. And they really weren't crazy about having a group of motorcyclists in the Post. Now, when I want to clarify, because when I say people on motorcycles, and Peter says people on motorcycles, we are American Legion riders, is what it says on our, we call them cuts, but the leather vests. It's American Legion riders. It is another family of the American Legion, just like the Auxiliary to Legionnaires and the SAL. So when we say motorcycles, it's the motorcycle community from the American Legion riders, and I couldn't tell you across the United States how many there are, but it is a huge organization, which we'll get into, I guess, a little later. But I, at first, joined Post 58 to ride with them, yes. And then once I got there and we kind of, everybody started getting along, and we talked to some of the veterans, and being a veteran, I said, yeah, this has got to be a home for us. So, and that's how we kind of got into it.
I love it. I had a client who was a member of the American Legion. He was seasonal, and he would come in, and he initially brought me in for business. He's like, oh, you know, there are people buying and selling houses. Come with me. And I ended up at a live music night, and I would love to dance. I have always loved to dance. And one of my biggest complaints in like life overall is that people do not dance. So whenever I come into communities where people dance, the Lebanese, the Greeks, you know, the Spanish community, I'm like, yes. And here I walk into this bar, and there are white people dancing, and I'm like, oh, we do dance, and it was such a good time. I'm a little sensitive to certain sensory things. One of those is smells, and I also had this perception that American Legions were like people smoking inside and stuff like that. So when I first got the invite, I was like, my client is a smoker. The bar is smoke-free. There are a ridiculous number of television sets, massive television sets, inside and outside, constantly playing games. Colin loved to be there for the games. He loved to be there for his guys and for the games, and he also loved the price of the drinks there because there is nowhere that you can get out of a bar watching a game with a $36 tab. If anybody else knows where it is, you tell me. But it was like that $36 mark was typically our bar tab. So.
And that's for a long night of alcohol or
It is.
whatever.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying that for that $36.
Well,
that
she
would
was
cost
talking
you
about two people, not one.
Yeah, it'll cost you $136 anywhere else.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And the camaraderie, and like I can't keep repeating, but the family, as soon as you walk in, big hug and a kiss. Hi, Kasha. Hi, Colin. Hi, Weedo. Hi, Gallagher. You know, I mean, it's just, you walk into Cheers. It's like your own private bar.
That is
your
exactly.
own private, I don't
is.
want to keep saying bar, your own private building. I mean, we are a members only club to begin with, but you're not a member, you're a family member, and you feel like that as soon as you walk in the front door.
Amen. And saying that we are a members only club, sometimes we break that rule. When do we break that rule?
Let me see how many nights. When Monday night is Monday Night Football. Wednesday is bingo, which the pot this week, if you would have won the full card and the progressive pot, it was $1,500, $1,600.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was like $1,500, $1,600, and the place is getting packed. And we just added a huge patio, and there are 4 TVs outside. We just added 3 more TVs inside, which I think gives us 14 or 15 TVs. And we supply food. We sell food for that night. Again, another fundraiser. And then Friday night, we have entertainment on the patio. We have a band or live singer on Friday and Saturday, which is open to the public. So anyone's more than welcome to come in. Hopefully you'll come in and we'll get members to join and help us to raise money. We're always doing something. We have private parties. We have Saturday the 26th is a big Halloween party. So we're having a big Halloween party with a DJ who DJs all our holidays, and he's also our bingo caller. And
the best.
he's a combination of Wolfman Jack and who was the other great personality. But anyway, he keeps you going. It's not, okay, and then, he livens this place up, and he really has a good time. And everything we do, all these events, whatever money we make at the bar, of course, we pay our bills to keep the lights on. Whatever money we raise when we do our budget at the end of the year, all goes towards a veterans charity. Like, we don't keep it. We have to pay, like I said, our lights. But we will put together a budget committee, and we will have that budget committee go through everything we do, and we will give to, for example, Tunnel to Towers, Wounded Warrior Project, we scholarship funds for the kids in Fountain Hills. We'll do 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. I think the Suns last year broke some kind of record.
That's awesome.
With $12,000 for scholarships. So we're all about not just veterans, we're all about youth and family. If we had for an example, we had a couple on the Indian reservation off of 87, and they needed a new washer and dryer. He's a veteran. So somebody told him to go to the American Legion. He came to the American Legion, and we have a fund put away that is for Fountain Hills resident veterans and youth. That has to be approved, obviously, but we have a special fund put on the side. So we bought him a washer and dryer, and he got his new washer and dryer, and I don't know if it was 5, 6, 7 months later. He comes into the post with money, and he said, I want to pay my debt back. And we said, it was not a debt. We bought you a washer and dryer. You're a veteran. You're down on your luck. We have an account put aside for just this. And what a time we had getting him to try to keep his money because he just, well, let me donate it. No, thank you. Keep it. You at some point want to donate your time, help us work bingo, work fish fry, come and help us paint the place. That's fine. And about 2 months ago, I can pitch CBI, right? I had this company that we deal with. It's a veterans organization company. And what they do, they're called CBI, which stands for Community Bridges Incorporated. Now, we've been dealing with them for years. So we give them clothes, furniture, complete households sometimes because they go to the streets and pick up the veterans that you may see at the gas station by the dumpsters. And they'll pick them up, and they work directly with the Veterans Administration in Phoenix. So they'll pick them up and they'll put them in an apartment. They have special buildings that are veterans housings. So they'll put them in there. And then to do that, they need pretty much everything we need when we first move into a house or get married or whatever. So I got a call from my connection at CBI, and she says, Commander, we're short $260 for his rent. So, and I said, well, and I know CBI vets everyone. If you don't have a DD-214 or you can't prove you served in the military, CBI will not, unfortunately, deal with you. They'll tell you where to go, what place that you can go to. So she calls me and she says, we're $260 short. He just got laid off from his last job, but he went on an interview and he got the job. He starts next week. But his landlord, if you can believe this, the landlord gave him an eviction notice. And he's not willing to wait. And I said, okay, first of all, who does that to a veteran? Second of all, we'll do what we can do. So, of course, I called the commander of the SAL. I called the president of the auxiliary. And I said, okay, this is what we have here. What can we do? And the three of us paid his rent. The three families from the American Legion paid his rent. And now he's in his apartment with a job, doing well. So these are the little things that we try to do.
But
it's-
you don't try to do, you succeed at doing.
We try our best.
We
try our
could
best.
literally go on, and
Yeah,
I
there
have
are
witnessed.
plenty of stores like that. I mean,
Yeah.
stories like that. But you know, I'm one for talking. So
I love
I'll
it.
stop
No,
now.
I love it. I do want to circle back to
Yes.
where we started, and that is we are a members only organization. But there are days where we invite the public to come in and see. And so generally speaking, the rule of thumb, sometimes it's if there's entertainment and food. Is that a fair?
Usually entertainment. Well, Friday night fish fry.
Okay.
Right.
For the
Open to
SAL
the
is
public.
open to the public, and that's at 4:30, and then at 6 o'clock the entertainment starts. So if you're done with fish fry and you want to stay as a guest, you're more than welcome. Saturday is strictly a band at 6 to 9. That's when we're open to the public an hour before. So we'll open at 5.
Okay.
And then you could be there from 5 to closing, whatever. And Wednesday bingo, open to the public always. Monday night football, open to the public. And then there are certain events that the auxiliary president will talk to you about. Certain events that the auxiliary puts on that are just amazing. Our meetings are all closed. A lot of people ask me this question, believe it or not. Can I come to your executive board meeting? It's a closed meeting. Right. Can I come to your general membership? No. If like I'll get calls from commanders from other posts or someone running for an office within the organization, and they'll say to me, Commander, I'd like to pitch my spiel at your general membership meeting. So as long as they notify me first and I know about it and I put it on the agenda at least a week before, then I welcome. Somebody may come in and say, I'm from this organization and I offer this to the veterans and I'm a veteran. I would like honor flight. Perfect example. Honor flight. When we take veterans to Washington, D.C., we don't personally. There's a big, beautiful company out there with an organization that will take a veteran to Washington, D.C. I think they do this twice a year. And they'll fly you on a commercial plane. They'll put you up in a hotel. They'll give you food, everything for like 3 days. And we usually go to send them off and or be at the airport for when they come back. And these are veterans. I mean, we started with whoever was left from World War II. Then we went to World War I, World War II, Korea, and we're actually into Vietnam now because there are very few people left back from those wars. So we're into Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and they take you on the tours of all the monuments and all the veterans places in Washington, D.C. And for those that have not been there, it's just amazing. And they pay for everything. You pay for nothing. You bring your clothes, your toothbrush.
Wow.
You're gone.
I'm just going to tag on
Sure.
a little bit. I'm a native of the Washington, D.C. area, and I used to work for an agency in the Department of Defense, and some of us would volunteer to meet honor flights when they came into town. And when you would see these primarily men from the earlier wars visit the monuments like the World War II Memorial or more recently the Vietnam Wall, the feelings that they were just exuding and the gratitude that they expressed were just amazing. So Honor Flights is one of my favorite charities.
It is
It
great.
really
And we
is.
also donate to them every year. We also put a veteran's name. They're pretty much caught up now. They used to have a 2-year waiting list. They're pretty much caught up. So you can get in, like usually if you sign up after one flight, you can get in the next flight. And they only do 2 a year because obviously bad weather in Washington, D.C., they don't go during the winter and the dead of the winter. We just had one of our members that went. He's 92 years old. The man was crying. I mean, just literally crying. We met him at the airport. And not when I say we, I mean probably about 60 people. And we all stand there with the American flag and we make a flag line and they walk through it. And some of these things are just, impossible to have dry eyes. I mean, just amazing. It really, it's heart-wrenching. And just to see, they may have tears in their eyes, but they're a combination of bringing back bad memories and seeing how well they're treated now. And I have to tell you, being a child of the Vietnam War, when I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, when I left the ship, I went into a men's room on the base to change my clothes. Because if I were in my dress blues, I would not, and I hitchhiked a lot from Virginia to New Jersey, and they would not pick me up if I was in uniform. They just wouldn't, because back then we were baby killers. Mm-hmm. And now, thank God this country finally learned to honor its vets. Finally. But coming from that was ugly.
Yeah.
But that's why we try to treat our fellow veterans the same way, and better, actually.
Mm-hmm. And again, you say try, but I see succeed. Not just our veterans, but our membership in our community as well, because I see the American Legion, there's this family, there's this group of individuals who are committed to our veterans, who are committed to our country, who are committed to our community, and just these circles that go out and out and out. And I am auxiliary. Colin was a son, and we did not serve. We had both had family that served, but when Colin passed, and it was time to celebrate his beautiful life, I felt like I had 1,500 arms around me, 1,500 hands mobilized,
Yes, ma'am.
prayers going up like this, and so there's like just the beauty of the concentric circles because that heart and our community, in my opinion, goes out and out and out. And I want to thank you both, one for representing the Sons, for representing the Legionnaires, for being such a beautiful part of our community, for your service, for your family service, for everything, all the sacrifices that have been made and all the love and support that you bring into that club and our community every single day. I'm honored to stand next to you, to shed tears, and I just want to thank you both for being here.
My pleasure, Kasha.
Thank you for having us,
Thank
Kasha.
you.
I really have enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kasha.
Thank you.
Give her the tissues.
Her nose is running.
No.